Welcome back to Tutorial Tidbits and welcome to my channel. I'm Elizabeth St. Hilaire, and this week I have another video for you on how to use Stabilo Woodies. So many of you have asked me about the background of videos when they look like this, and this is my artful living room. It is where my art collection is most prominent. I also have it in the kitchen and in every other room and in storage because I have more than I can hang. But I wanted to share that this is my art collection, and it is not just my work, it is work that I collect from other artists and have been over the years. So anyway, thanks for your comments and questions regarding that and my beautiful backdrop. So let's get into Stabilo Woodies for mark making on top of collage. So today I'm working with Stabilo Woodies again, and I wanted to show you today how I use them to make marks on top of my finished collage work and to use to add color to my finished collage work. So not only do I like to use them in my art journaling, but here's a piece that I just completed today. It has been in progress for a really long time in that pile of incomplete projects. And I saw it and I thought, you know, I always liked this, the way the purple with the green and the pink with the green. And so I completed the collage earlier today just for fun. And then I thought, well, this would be a really nice example to show you how I use Stabilo Woodies on top of my collage work. So I'm also excited about the fact that I was able to purchase in open stock recently pastel colors. So I already had a set of the basic colors, and I had purchased a couple of the metallic colors in open stock, the gold and the silver. And then recently I just purchased these pastel colors in open stock. Oh, also here's a lavender. So there's the purple, the yellow, the pink, the mint green, the peach, and the sky blue. So these are really very different than my my intense colors that I already had. And so a combination of these I think will work because I've got some of this bright blue here in my collage paper. I've got some pink that showed up in my collage paper, some purple, lavender and the original purple, and I've also grabbed, you know, this green and the dark green and an orange that I think will look nice. So I don't know if I'll use all of them, but I wanted to show you how I do use mark making on top of my collage. I'm going to be using the water brush. I just got a new set of the Marabu water brushes. It's a set of 3. They come in 2 different size pointed nibs, and the one that I'm going to use is the flat nib. I like this for blending out in a bit of a larger area. I filled the barrel with water. You can tell that it's new because it's so clean. And if you're not familiar with the water brush, you fill the barrel, you squeeze the handle, and the water comes through just like this. And then I use that water to blend the woodies. I do not always blend the woodies. As a matter of fact, more often than not, I do not blend the woodies. I like to make marks on top and then leave them that way. When I leave the woodies without blending, and even when I do blend them, before I add my final varnish coat layer, I hit them very lightly with the Krylon Crystal Clear. It dries really quickly, and it's non-yellowing, it's moisture resistant, and it's a permanent protective finish. So I just put this in a light spray to seal and set the woodies, and then I will varnish with a polymer varnish. So I can already see that one of my pencils is really not sharp. So here's an opportunity for me to show you the proprietary sharpener. This does come with the set, but it is also available open stock. So if you're like me, I've actually gained most of my pencils through open stock. So in order to get a sharpener, it did not come with I did not get it with a set. So let me just put this here. I'm going to put that in there, and you just sharpen it like a regular old pencil sharpener. And it's nice and wide, so it's going to bring back that wide tip that I like so much because I want big, thick lines, and that's what I love about this wide tip. the width of that. So let's just bring that off to the side. And I'm going to need that paper towel for my water brush. When I want to clean the color that's on the water brush, I just flush water through it and wipe it on a paper towel or a baby wipe off to the side until it's clear. So there's the sharpening of that one. I think the rest of the tips look good. The pastel ones are brand new, so those tips are good. And let's just get started. I'm just gonna make some marks and a little bit of a mess on this and see what happens. But yeah, before I final varnish it, I'm gonna put this on it. And all the products that I am using are gonna be linked down below the video. I've put some water from the water brush onto the artwork here. Let me lighten that up. Okay, so the first thing I see an opportunity for is that I've got a collage paper that's got this color on it. And I think that I could bring in a little bit more of that color along the edge of where this apple meets that one. It would help to divide it out, and it would add to that effect. So I do a little bit of that in there. And then I think when I come down here, I see that I've got this pink and green together. So I think the pink pastel would be a good color to sort of maybe put along this edge. And I'm not outlining. You'll hear me say that in all my Stabilo Woody videos. I'm not going to outline everything. I'm mark making. I'm adding marks that will add a little something to the way this piece looks. But I'm not outlining. I am mark making. Like over here, you can see that I've got some pink in a paper and a little bit of this orange right here. So I'd like to just extend that pink line and maybe make a little bit more of a pink mark. And then I'll take my orange and I can add a little bit more of that. And here, so I've extended some of the lines in that paper and I've made it a little bit more of a bold pattern there. And I'd like to come in with a little bit of the green as well. So now I'm going to come back to this edge, and instead of coming all the way around here, I've just done a little bit right there. And I think I'm going to come in with the darker purple as we get down into the dark area and maybe add a little line here. And I think that's going to be, let's blend that. I think that little purple is going to be more of on this apple than that one, but I've got a line that is, I think it needs to be a little softer. So I'm going to bring in the water brush and just soften that. And it's just going to turn into like a little bit of a watery watercolor paint. And I'm just going to soften that edge right there between the purple and the green. And now I think it's bumped in a little bit onto the light part of this apple. So the nice thing about this being water soluble is here I can wipe it right off. I love that. I can come in until I hit it with this, I can come in with a wet towel or a baby wipe and wipe it off if I don't like it. Then I can come back and try that again more on this side. And I see a little bit of a blue there. So I've got this bluish purple that I think would be even nice right there. Okay, I like that. And I'm going to scribble that a little bit into the right-hand apple, and I'm going to blend it a little bit and let it have like a little soft blend and become part of that shadow. And that'll separate these two apples out a little bit more at the bottom there. So I'm going to squeeze the water through and blend it softly, pull it out here. And then again, if I think it's too much, I can come back in and dab it back and make it a nice soft little shadow there. A soft edge shadow. So here I can make a soft edge shadow, and then I can also make a bold mark. So this nice lime green, I wonder if this green would look good. This is not exactly, this is more of a minty green than what's in the apple, but wow, look at how that stands up off that background. That's kind of cool. They're opaque, so they do stand up off of a dark background. I think this might be the better green for that though. But I had an idea for the background. Hold on. So on the stem, I'm going to bring the pink out here because I didn't finish the collage, but I'm done with the collage. So wherever spots I missed or something I didn't complete, I'm going to add my mark making to and just leave it and call it spontaneous. So I've added a little purple with both of these. This violet or pastel purple is really nice. It matches what's going on down here. So I'm going to bring that here as this apple kind of comes into the shadow here, and then I'm going to bring it over this side as well. And I'm thinking that this background is a little flat, so I was wondering if I scribbled the brown with the purple and then water brushed it, if it would enhance the color of my acrylic that has already been painted down here in the underpainting. Somehow it's just not very vibrant, that color in the background. So I'm adding purple and brown and maybe even a little bit of this bluish purple. I have two different purples. Yeah, this purple is a little bit more rich. And then when I bring in my water brush and I squeeze a bunch of water on this, I can use it to paint over to give like a color tint and make this a little more rich, which I think is nice. There's a little dent in my board. I can patch that up. And again, if I get any of this on the apple, I can just come back in with that wet paper towel or a baby wipe and just wipe it right off. Even once it dries, it's water soluble. Even once it dries, it's not going to ever get to the point where you can't wipe it off. So if you change your mind about any of your marks, that is the nice thing about the Stabilo Woodies. If you change your mind about any of the marks that you've made, you can come back and take them off. So this got a little bit lighter at the bottom and I've made it dark. So I'm going to wipe it back a little bit. So it just kind of gradually got lighter down there. And I'm liking the richness that this is added to the background. So I'm going to do a little bit more of that. That's the purple, the purpley blue, and you don't have to be precise because we're just going to blend this and move it around. So the purpley blue and the brown. And I think this is really adding to that rich background. I don't have to bring my paints out again. And that's why I chose this water brush with the flat head, because it's a little wider than the pointed ones, and it's giving me a chance to get a nice sharp edge in next to the stems and the edge of the apple. I can cut in there kind of pretty sharply. Now I'm going to squeeze out a bunch of water and then just come around here and sharply follow the edge of the apple with this flat brush. And the pointed ones are good for other applications, of course. So there's my edge on that one. And I'm going to I've got some color already still in the brush that I can kind of bring around the left-hand side. And then once this dries, I'll evaluate it and see if I need to do more. But I find that these woodies have a really rich pigment that goes a long way. And so I'm going to bring new life to this piece. I mean, this has been sitting around here for a few years and it's just been on the back burner unfinished. So I'm kind of excited about just getting it done and being available on my website. So if you are not familiar, my original artwork is always for sale. If you see it on social media and you're interested in purchasing it, or if you want to go to my website, all of my pieces are always for sale. So here I'm going to come down and get a little, with the paper towel, I'm going to dab that back a little bit because I want it to come a little lighter as it meets the shadow, the cast shadow. So I'm just going to do that. I'll go with a lighter touch, blend it out. Okay. Wow, I like the way that looks. I'm a little wondering if I should bring this in a little bit closer here on the top edge of this apple to make it look a little bit more rounded. I'll bring in the darker purple again. When you go into the wet surface, it really, the woody kind of melts a little and it gives you a nice soft line to work with. So there we go. Okay, so here for cleaning, again, I'm going to squeeze it and just squeeze it and flush through until it's clean and the water is coming through clean. The tip looks like it's purple, but the water is coming through clean. So now I'm going to come in with some of this pastel pink and some of this violet because I think that I could just make some fun marks down here. Now these I won't blend out because I kind of like the idea of just making some kind of cross hatching marks to give this area texture, because I'm not going to collage this. I'm only collaging the apples and the stems, and the background is going to stay paint. That was always my intention. So I'm going to add some marks in here to give this area down here a little more visual interest. Wow, I really like this over the dark. Look at how this lavender looks over that dark shadow. So that can come this way, and I can do that even on this edge. The woodies are very opaque, so they are very visible over the dark. Then I'm going to come in with this dark bluish violet and make this a little darker with my marks. And some of the darker, here's a black. I don't use black too much, but here if I draw that into the shadow, I can get the shadow a little bit darker. So I can just add some marks in that way and come back with my lavender and add on top of that. And this is starting to get really nice and rich with the layers of mark making without blending. We're getting some nice layers. So I'm going to bring brown in here, and then I'm going to bring the blue violet in there. And again, I'll bring the pink in on the edges to sort of soften the edges. And here I've got a little spot that's missed, so I'm going to mist with the paint. So I'm going to bring the pink in there, and then I'm going to blend it a little bit so it doesn't look like it was a mist spot. I think I'm going to put a little violet in there. Now that it's wet, the violet will go in there kind of in a melty, smooth way, and that gives me, that shores up this little triangle. This triangle of light is very important. So me popping some of this woody pastel in there is going to reinforce that nice area of light. And now I want to bring down a little bit up more of this line here on the edge, and I'm going to blend that. We blended the shadow here, and I'm just going to blend this a little bit there. And that's my division and that little pop of light. So next, I think I'll come back in with maybe some of the pastel yellow and add some kind of just some marks in here. I can give it a little highlighted top edge where the light hits up there. I can lighten up that top edge. And I like this because the golden yellow would probably be too yellow. This is kind of a pale yellow, so it works well for that. So I'm just going to put a few marks on there, bring that here, give myself a little highlight there and here. My highlight was created with white in the collage paper. I love the way that this blue is on the green. You can see I've got a circle here that's in the paper. So I might like to do, I got to keep my hand out of this wet. I might like to reinforce that with another circle, a couple of more circles on the apple, and maybe I use the pale pink to do something similar on this one. Just some sort of fun circle shapes. And the orange that I used over here. Although, look at the peach. The peach would be nice. Yeah, that's really nice to add to the orange, this nice pastel peach. So with the pastel peach, I think I'm going to bring a little bit of it over here. I like the idea of the line work, but where they overlap. And I'm going to put a little bit of it over here. And this is the light side, the side that the light is coming from. So let's put a little yellow there and really get like a little bit of a highlight on that edge. And this, I think, could be a little lighter, but I don't want to do that yellow. I'm going to come back in here with the green, the lime green, so it's not quite as bright as that because it is behind this apple, but it is still a highlight source. So, and I think I'll bring this pastel yellow up here and give that a little bit of a light spot as well. Now I've got a white one because on this stem I used the white edge of the torn paper to be the highlight. And I could maybe add a little bit of a white edge on this one. We're still wet in there, but I think I could put the white edge with the white woody. Another couple colors that I have that I bought in open stock. This one is, I'm not sure, I guess they have numbers on them, but this is kind of like a flesh peach, so I'm not going to use that. But I also bought white in open stock, I think. I started with a very small set. So I'm just going to add a little bit of a highlighted edge on this stem so it matches the white edge on the other stem. And I'm going to bring it sort of down here and just use that line on the left-hand side with the light. And again, if I don't like it or I think that it's too much, I can come back with my brush and kind of blend the background color to sort of tone it back a little bit. Like maybe I don't want it to run the full length so it doesn't look like an outline. So I have it here and then a break and then a little bit down there. And the top of this stem is a little different than that one. It doesn't really have that apple shape. So maybe I'm going to use the woody to bring up the one corner. And maybe I'll use a little bit of the lavender and see if I can kind of give it that shape of an apple stem. And then I'll come back in with my brush and move a little bit of the background color around to sort of hone that shape a little bit more like I want it to be. So there we go. I'm not, like I said, I'm going to leave the mark making down here and the mark making in the apples. I've used the blended out in the background, and I could blend a little in the shadow. I'm thinking to make this shadow a little richer, and then I can put the line work back on top of it because the background is so rich now. So I think I'll blend some of the shadow and then I'll bring the mark making back on top. So this is going to make the shadow as rich as the background color, which I think is good because I love the richness now of the background. So let's just blend these shadow colors and then I'll come back and add more mark making on top. So I'll bring out that shadow a little bit more than what it was painted. And again, if I don't like it, I can wipe it with the paper towel. But let's bring that all the way out. Maybe I'll soften this a little bit with the towel. There we go. A little softer there. Now I can let that dry and put the dry marks back on top that I will, that I'll leave. And I'm going to clean this by squeezing water through the barrel until I get nothing, no color coming off. You want to do that before you put it away as well. There's my pencil shavings falling out of this paper towel. Before you put it away, you want to make sure the tip is clean. So I feel like I could have a little bit more of the orange and the peach in here. So here's some peach in the paper that I'm going to add mark to highlight it. Here's some orange. I'm going to add a mark to that. So I'm sort of following what I've already done with the collage and adding these little pops of color really where they already are. So it's not random. I'm sort of extending where these pops of color already are. So I'm going to bring a little peach here and then a little bit of the pastel pink. And it just takes what I did with the paper and elevates it. So there's pink and green paper over here and just elevating that by popping up some of the light pinks with the mark making. And these woodies are working right now over collage glue. This surface has no tooth, but these woodies will write on glass. So it works wonderful on top of your finished collage work because it will write on top of the glue. So I'm going to bring some of this orange sort of right here. And I'm still not feeling like that curved edge is exactly perfect in shape. So I'm going to come in with the green and kind of bump that out a little bit there. And again, it's giving me a little bit of texture here. So I'm going to soften that so it doesn't look too, there we go. That's better. Okay, so a little bit of blue maybe in here to pick up that this way. And I've got some nice purple in this stem. So, and there's some purple down in here. So maybe bring in a little of this violet mark making down here where there's paper with violet. And likewise right here. And I've got a little orange over here so I can highlight the orange in the paper. So I'm just adding some color according to what's already in the collage, and added some fun little circles, circular shapes. I think I could do that with the white over here to enhance the highlighted area. So like maybe a little circle or a little mark making in there. And I may need to go back and hit this again when the background dries to get the white a little bit more strong there. But the difference is this is the edge of a white paper, and I'm adding the woody back here. But that works because this apple is a little bit brighter because it's more forward. So I already signed this with pencil while this paint was wet, which worked kind of nicely. So the last step now is that this is drying, and I'm just going to come back and add a little bit more line work into the shadow. It's still a little bit wet, but I want it to have texture. So I'm bringing in the purple and the brown and the lavender to make some marks and bring some color and texture back into here. So I like that, and this dark bluish purple for my shadows. And since we made everything richer that was rich, now this stem looks a little dull. So I'm gonna bring in a little bit of this dark bluish purple down here, and even some of the reddish purple. And I'm gonna blend that a little bit with my water brush. And I'll probably then do a little bit of the same at the base of this stem where it goes into the apple. That would be a little darker. So I'm going to add that, and then I need to soften that because I don't want to lose this nice pattern on the stem. So I'm going to pull it back. So when I want to take it off, I'm going to clean the brush, squeeze it out, clean it, and dry it, and then I can pick it up. It's a thirsty brush now because it's dry, and I can lift it and bring it, can lift it off because it'll get lifted into the brush and then dry it. So here I'm removing the woody just a little bit like you would with watercolor so that it's just at the base of the stem like that. So there you have it. It's a combination of dry marks without blending and blended to make the background deeper, darker, and blended in the shadow, and then blended on this edge of the shadow. So I like to use them in a combination of dry marks and water blended, and then seal it just with a bit of this, just enough to set it. Not to coat the whole thing because it's way too much, and this is bad for your lungs and bad for the environment. So I'm just going to give it light spritz. And then I'm going to do a test with my finger. I'm going to get my finger a little bit wet, and I'm going to rub it. And if it dislodges any of it, then I'm going to fix it, which is easy to do. I'll come back in and fix it, and then spray it a little bit more. So you just want to spray it enough to set it, and then you're going to brush varnish over the whole thing, which will give it an even sheen, because the woodies and the acrylic paint do not have the same sheen as the gloss gel that I use to glue down the collage material. So I don't want the apples to be glossy and the background to be matte. So when this is all done and set, and the woodies are set, I will varnish it with satin so it has an even sheen. Everything reflects the light in the same way. So that is my little lesson today, because I was so excited about my new open stock colors, my new pastel open stock colors in the Stabilo Woodies. So I am super excited that you can buy the woodies in open stock, because I was able to add pastels to a set that I already had that didn't include them. So that is a big bonus of open stock, of course. And then if you don't have woodies already, the big bonus of the set is that they're probably cheaper per piece than the open stock. So anyway, thank you for joining me. Thank you for being here today. And I hope that you will subscribe and share my channel. I would love to hear your comments about woodies. I answer all comments, so please take a minute to give me a comment about what you like about them or what you don't like about them, or if you've got pastels, or let me know, because I do enjoy answering all the comments. And thanks for being here, and I'll see you next week.